another batch in and throw the corn on the grill, and
Nice.
we'll
That's
be
actually
like,
funny because I'm gonna make some BLTs.
that's what we're
Um,
making.
ah, it's BLT
Yes, BLTs with corn on the cob and I don't know, maybe Fritos.
Yeah, I think Aaron went to go get the tomato because that's what we're missing.
All right, I had to do
Uh,
that yesterday because I forgot.
and then I got the lettuce yesterday. I was like, you know
Got the
what? I'm just
lettuce.
feeling a BLT.
Yeah,
And
got
I guess
plenty
I'm
of
not the only
bread.
one.
Got the mayo.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty
Yeah,
excited about that. I don't even know if I'm going to do a
even
side. I just want the BLT.
I have avocado in the freezer if I want to make an avocado out of it too, but I
Ooh,
don't think
that's
I do.
fancy.
And I have some onion in the fridge that I could slice very thinly and put on, but maybe I won't do that either. I
I
think
don't
I'll
even.
make
I
a
don't even know.
classic. I'm gonna make a classic club BLT.
Just the
Lettuce and
classic,
bacon
yeah.
on one part,
The OGs
tomato
of
and bacon on the
BLT.
other part.
And just good. And I do the squares because Aaron makes his BLTs where it's just sorry Mike, we're talking BLT.
That's okay.
We're both
Where he
making
just puts a
BLTs
sandwich
tonight.
and it's not elaborate like they do at diners, and I just like to do the diner setup.
Yeah, I like to do a club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
How are you,
let me.
Mike? You
I'm
were really
doing
sick last time.
well. I was in the hospital and they wouldn't let me out. I
Had to be a
felt,
reason. As a
yeah,
nurse, I think there was a reason.
I felt okay, but they kept me for a week.
Yeah, for a
How's
while.
your pressure now? Good.
Um, I think it's good.
You're like, I'm hoping it's good.
I haven't collapsed.
Hey, you look good.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
So
you do look good. You look very trim, actually.
yeah, like whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I think we're good. Mike, we got some background music now. So if you hear
Oh,
that, that's not
Hear
part
that
of your
gentle song.
imagination. It was the background music. We got some new stuff here. We're trying to be fancy.
cool.
Let's see. And then if anybody's watching the lives, then they can join in on the chat and I can just pop up the conversation. I think we kind of played around with that last time. But this book, I'm drinking a giant mimosa out of my Second City cup.
I love it. I'm
It's like
drinking a rosé of some kind out of my, because it's Nurses Day, and
Oh,
my
yeah.
mom painted this for me several years ago on a wine
Cute.
glass. So I'm having wine in my Nurses Day.
well, happy Nurses Day, Becky. By the
Yeah,
way.
you.
and I'm drinking scotch. What's
Now,
new?
stick with the classics, I say.
Exactly.
I don't know. I kind of was feeling like a mimosa here.
I love mimosas.
It's refreshing, and then it's just a lot. I had a bottle of champagne. I don't even know where I got it from, so I was just like, "Boop." I was like, it's gonna go
This'll
with
work.
this book.
Well, I do my best stuff like that. I'm like, what am I going to have for dinner? Well, the other night, my neighbor came over for a few minutes, and I'm like, yeah, excuse my meal. I'm like, so I had stuff. I made a salad, and then I realized I have some coleslaw left over, and then I have 2 hot dogs, but I don't have any buns, but I didn't care. So there's these 3 little.
Just throw it all together. Like,
Ann was working, so it's just me. So who cares?
yeah. I do a Mod Podge, and Hazel hates it. She's like, "What are we eating?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "It's what we had. That's what we're
Yeah.
eating."
That's right. So you had a good time down here. I'm sorry I missed you.
Oh, I know. I honestly, I think I bit off way too much that I can chew.
Well,
I was like, yeah, we have time to meet
easy
up
to
Becky
do.
and all this stuff. Like, we barely made it to like meet up with Vanessa.
I
But it
know.
was like nonstop. My feet hurt for like a whole week. I think we walked on my Fitbit. We tracked it. Me and my friend Cassidy. We walked about
17,000 a day.
Yeah. So we walked. It said that we walked 40 miles.
Oh,
Wow.
40 miles in the 3 days because we went to the parks. And I
right.
was like, yeah, and that was insane. But Hazel loved it. We made our reservations like barely. Like one point, we were literally running through Epcot because we had Rise of the Resistance reservations, and it was insane. It was like towards the end of the night, but we loved it. My friend Cassidy never went to Florida, so she loved it. And we didn't get to make it to Animal Kingdom, but we're like, eh.
Next time.
Next time, that's what we're saying. Next time, we're gonna go to Universal and try the Harry Potter, and then see what.
Oh
we
yeah,
can
that's
do.
always good.
Yeah, but the resort was cool.
I
Go
was
to
looking for this
Coronado.
weekend. The only thing available was Animal Kingdom. And that was just for today. There's nothing available. For tomorrow, there's nothing available for Sunday because it's Mother's Day.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you're staying on site, if you're at a resort, you can always get in. But if you're not, then they only have X number of pass holder reservations.
Yeah.
And most of May is completely open, but then you get this weekend. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. We stayed at the Coronado Resort, which was
I've visited a friend out there, but I've never stayed there. Did you like
gorgeous. So like because it was a lot of us, it was like 7 of us. So we all went in and we got the suite, like the executive suite. And it was like a mini apartment. And it was like gorgeous. Everybody was so like, it's Disney, so everybody's gonna be like super friendly, like customer service. Right. So Cassidy was like free because she's like we're from like the Chicago area, so she's just like, everybody's so freaking nice. I'm like, it's Disney. They got paid to be the nicest people in the world. So,
but when my son moved from New York to Chicago, he's like, Mom, the people here are so friendly and nice. They were caught out in a rainstorm, he and his friend, and they had gone to this one place and it was closed, and they were just going to grab an umbrella from like Walgreens, but it was Sunday morning, it was closed, and they're like, well, now what are we going to do? And this girl drove by, and then she pulled and backed up, and she said, do you guys need a ride? And they're like, oh my God,
like, who's asking?
Who are you?
Yeah, so
but now he's down here in St. Pete, and they're very friendly down here too. So.
Yeah.
So this book,
yes, okay.
I was not sure what to expect.
I wasn't either.
Subject matter was maybe not
the best. Like, okay,
right.
So, what's scrolling on the bottom? The book is Girl A, by Abigail Dean. It is trigger, so like anybody who watches this going forward in the future, there is what is it? Child abuse and child neglect, and just the psychological aspect of that. So just a forewarning. So I kind of went like, the book got picked. I walked into it not really knowing what it was. I didn't read like reviews or anything. I was just like, all right, let's get into it. I didn't read this one actually. I did an audiobook.
I did too.
And I'm glad that I did. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into it. The author, Abigail Dean, she's actually a lawyer. She's a lawyer for Google. So I looked that up. She's still a lawyer for Google.
And she did IT, or her family did IT. She also has an IT background, which in the book,
Yeah, she went to IT background. I think she did some English, and she studied English, of course, because she was writing. And then she got burnt out as a lawyer, so then she took a break, and then she wrote this book.
Right.
And then she went, and then she has a job with Google as their lawyer. So, or one of their lawyers. They probably have like a whole bunch. So,
I kind of looked for her because I wanted to see if this was her background as well. Like, I didn't know if
it sounded kind of personal.
So I didn't know if it was, but I actually don't think it. I actually don't think she was a victim.
No, so she actually got the inspiration from the case from. I actually have it up here.
The California
Lewis
case.
And David Turpin or whatever, where they had the 12 kids
with
in
the 12
California.
kids in California.
Yeah. So, which happened, what was it, like 2017 or something?
Yeah,
like
it was 4 or 5 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Not that long ago. So it has
horrible.
it has a very strong like essence of that case on there.
Right.
Multiple children, the parents delusional, the mom delusional, and just kind of like how she kind of wrote it around it. And you can kind of like, if you follow the cases on the news and you read this book, you see the similarities.
I saw a lot of similarities.
Yeah, so she grabbed
the one that got away. The one that managed to get out.
Yes, because the oldest daughter, I think she was 17. I have it right here. She's 17 when she actually broke out and she ran away, and that's what happened in the book too.
Right.
Is Lex's character? She escaped and she ran away for help. So that was very similar. And then I'm like, ugh. So yeah, this book. And then I kind of, after I finished my audiobook, I went and I looked at the reviews of.
I did that too.
Of people who read it, and it's literally 50-50. People hated it and people liked it. okay, I give Abigail kudos. I really honestly liked how she did some like like comparison detail of like when she was describing things.
Yeah,
It felt really real,
it
and
did.
that I
Yeah.
really did enjoy. She for being a lawyer and stuff like that, she wrote this. I like the writing. Now the
too.
writing style, she jumped back and forth from like past, present, everywhere, and it was really hard because
Without telling you when she was until you actually
Right.
yeah,
read
Every
yeah,
once in a while,
paragraph.
I would have to like go, oh, she's here now.
yeah,
But and a lot of people, that was their complaint when I was looking at the reviews. That was their complaint that she kept jumping back and forth.
yeah. It
They didn't
wasn't,
like that.
and then a lot of people were saying because there's so many characters in the book, it was really hard to keep track of the jumping. And then just keep track of the people. Like, okay, how many kids? Because for a while, and I just did the audiobook, and I recommend this book as the audiobook. Because if I was actually reading it, I would have probably got dizzy, like literally from jumping from different
I would have
storylines.
been flipping back and forth a lot.
Yeah, from going to different timelines of like the happening of their childhood and then their present, because it goes through flashbacks. Really,
Did you read it, Mike, or listen to it?
I read it.
How did
How
you
was it
feel? Was it
reading?
dizzy?
It was difficult without it saying when it was happening. You know, if there was a date at the beginning of the chapter or something like that, it might have been a little easier.
Oh
But-
yeah, all
Yeah.
she did at the beginning of the chapters in the audiobook, I guess it would be the same as a regular book, is she would just say like boy C, or she would say Evie girl C,
Right.
Yeah, girl A.
and
Like
then
the
it would be
chapters were the children,
right.
and the perspective was purely on Lex's perspective of her telling the abuse in her childhood, which I kind of hoped that she would have changed the perspective, and each chapter was each child's perspective of their childhood and then the abuse that came along. Because to me,
It
she
was
kind
just
of
Lexi.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just Lexi. Because for me, like you see how each child coped with their abuse,
Right.
but it was just through her perspective, and each one was different.
Yeah,
So,
but
like-
I think you couldn't have done it that way because of Evie. They
Yeah,
had to
Evie
all be
would have
from
been-
Lex's
She could
perspective.
have. She could have put like Evie as part of Lex's story, and then it kind of jumped into like Gabriel and Gabriel's perspective, and Delilah, because Delilah was kind of like delusional of like, it wasn't that bad, my childhood wasn't horrible. And then you literally have dead children, like the baby Daniel, which I like for the longest I was like, what? Well, who's Daniel? Why haven't we heard from him?
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
well, we're going to find out about Daniel. And then when they had Daniel, I'm like, wait a minute, because we already talked about Noah. So Daniel,
Yeah,
I'm not so
And
sure
you're
about
like-
Daniel's future here. But when I was reading those reviews, an awful lot of people are speculating that Noah is really Lexi's child and that she has blocked it out, that she was the victim of abuse, most likely by Ethan, and that it's her and Ethan's child. And I took the book, I looked at that and I said, yeah, I can see where you could think that, but I really thought back about the book, and I took it all at face value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
I didn't.
dig in
I don't
deep
feel
and
like
get-
Yeah, I don't feel like sexual abuse was part of it because of the whole. They were so into the Bible, and so I don't feel like there was any sexual abuse from the father.
Yeah, I thought that the book was gonna go there with like SA context, but it didn't, and especially with
Mm-mm.
like her older brother, because he was so warped from his abuse that he was like, was it the Munchausen disorder, where he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm good, and then he tried to do control of everything, and he's like, yeah, this guy, he coped and becoming a psychopath, like he's demented. That's how he coped. So I thought that that's where it was gonna go, especially when he choked her out on the bed.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
like they had that incident. I was like, oh god, no, they're gonna go into like incest. Like this book was very like It started off like a bang. It started off like a movie. You know, she's like
Okay.
escaping. She's jumping out the window. She got a cut in her hand. I was like, oh. She like breaks her knee or whatever happened to her leg. And then she's like, hey, flagging for help. And then it kind of like slowed down.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stayed at that pace where it was just kind of overviewing everybody's way of how they took with their childhood and how they are as an adult right now. Like, it didn't go into like deep detail, like graphic detail of child abuse. Like,
Right.
because like some books, if you read that, like you're like, some of them are like, oh no, that's messed up.
But
This
if
one was
you're
dark.
familiar with the other case, the one you're talking about in California, this book she wrote parallels their story a lot, I think. I don't know how abused they were as far as sexual abuse, or I don't think they were all beaten. I don't think they were all, but they were
Yeah,
chained, and they were, somebody was in a closet forever, you know, and
Yeah, some children were treated better, I think, just kind of how the book. Some were chained in mattresses, just like the book, in like their
right.
filth. I don't know if they ever found like deceased children on the actual case.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
100%
know
sure
if they
because this is
did.
like 6 years ago. The case,
I don't
but
think they did.
I don't think they
no,
did.
because she
I,
had
I think it was just physical deprivation and neglect
yeah,
more than
malnourished,
more,
everything.
and that's
yeah.
what I got the feeling from this book too. I don't feel like she ever went to, I mean, he took the stick and he, you know, whacked her with the stick, and there's a question of, did he hit her with the stick or did he rape her with the stick?
Yeah, and I can see how there might have been like the author was trying to say like something else. Like you could
Yeah.
have read into it, like,
And,
oh,
and
it
I
wasn't
did,
like a
right, I
like
did think that. I did think that, whereas he did not actually do the act himself. And that's why she's telling Evie, look away, look away. I mean,
That's when I thought the essay was going to come in. Like,
Yeah.
I really thought, I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is, and that was kind of towards the end of the book, you know, where you're just like, this is where kind of, because you're, I don't know, for me, I had a sense of like something else bigger was going to happen.
right.
That bigger for me was the Evie part. I was like, oh, that was
I did not see that coming until very close to when it occurred.
yeah, and I was like,
As it
well,
started going, I was like, uh-oh, I have a feeling.
yeah,
But I didn't get that at all until it was close to the
yeah.
Did you?
Honestly,
You guys-
that part kind of saved the book for me because it kind of slowed down for a while, and then all the jumping. I mean, it kept my interest of like, oh, where is this gonna go? When she did do the flashbacks of the child abuse, it was just kind of like, oh, that's really bad. But it was just like the story that she was detailing, like the footprint or the footsteps and everything. She really got into like the mindset of of that, and I appreciate the author for doing that because it was just kind of like I started feeling like I was in that room with her, you know,
Yeah.
like oh, like
I
you hear the
do.
footsteps, like oh no, they messed up. And she's like, oh, he's coming. And that like gave me anxiety, but it was really good. But I don't know, when I was like, okay, if the book just kind of ends and it's like the wedding and stuff like that, nothing really comes up forward. I was like, because it was a long audiobook for me. Like I think it was like 12 hours, but I speeded it up until like
I
2
always
times.
speed it up. I think I read it 1.5, maybe. And
One
that
and a half.
saves it sometimes for me because I read fast. When I read a book, I read quickly. So
Yeah, I do
when I
too.
start listening to it at regular speed, I'm like, oh, come on, come on, come on.
I know. I'm like, you know what? I didn't realize that I was that low on the speed spectrum on the audiobook. And I was like, man, she's just really drawing out these words. And some
Right.
parts it was really good, like the part like in the beginning, because it gives you that sense of like this doom that they live. But then
Uh-huh.
after when it's like just when they're adults, I was like, yeah, let's just kind of put this up a little bit. And it was
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, it was not what I was expecting. And of your choices, Mike, that was the one that I was most drawn to. So I was glad that's the one that got picked. There was another one that was okay, kind of interesting to me, but I was like, well, this one might be good. I like the psychological aspect. And I'm
Yeah.
really glad it turned out to be there because it actually turned out to be a very good book. And I, like I said, I was afraid it was going to be, you know, like really troublesome and then that I would have trouble listening to it and I would have, but it wasn't at all. And it was, the ending is ambiguous. It could go either way. Did she
Yeah.
walk to the ocean or did she go back to her life?
Mhm.
Because at that point she didn't feel like she had a huge life going on. But on the other hand, she had made up with everybody. She had come to
Right.
terms with the deaths. She was aware of everything. She had found the little brother. So it could have gone either way. All this was settled so she could move on, or all this was settled so she could walk into the ocean. Either way, I thought it was very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was hard to tell.
It
Yeah,
was.
and
I
then she
think she
kind
went
of,
back to her life.
yeah, I think so too, because she, she was very strong character, this Lex. She
Right.
handled her whole everything with like a sense of grace, and like of course she was angry and she was not gonna let that go, but she was very headstrong. So like for me to think that she went into the ocean, it was just like, I don't know, because then that's like a change of personality. But
Yeah.
maybe it's just, you never know the mindset of somebody of when they're dealing with this. Like they're grieving of the loss of their family, they're grieving of the loss of their childhood,
Right.
on top of the abuse, physical, mental, like everything. So it's really difficult, which in this book you see different aspects of it, which like I said again is like that was really nice to see. Like
Yeah.
one person's childhood, even though two kids have lived the same childhood, one can have a completely different perspective on their childhood
Oh, yes.
than the
Just
other.
ask my sister.
Yeah. One's like, it was great. Mom and dad was great. Like, mom and dad locked us in our bedroom. Like, what?
Right.
Like, what do you mean it's great? Yeah.
It's the same. Although I didn't have a childhood like that, but the same thing with my sister and my brother and I will bring things up that that were frustrating things to us. And my sister says, I do not know what yours and Tom's problems are. I had a wonderful childhood. I'm like, you had the same childhood we did. I remember you crying in this corner and sobbing about this and having all these emotional problems. But she's blocked it all out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the math's not mathing on this one, but it's a great perspective of like how people cope with things. Some
Right.
people cope better, some people can't cope, and like you
Correct.
see that it's the same situation, but just how individuals deal with that,
Well,
and that was good to see, like in a book.
I think so too. And I
Yeah.
think she would have gone back to a regular life because she knew if she walked into the ocean that he wins.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
And she wasn't going to let that happen.
that she
She's
didn't
like,
win
no,
after all. Yeah, she's like,
no,
no, she was
you.
she
And
was good.
really, the
She
way,
saved the
the
kids.
progression of it, like it wasn't like that always. At first they were like kind of a normal family, and the kids went to school, and the parents got a little more religion, and then he just started. He was a failure, and his frustrations started coming out, and it's almost certain that he abused the wife in some
Oh
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was like brainwashed,
Right,
the mom.
right.
So the mom was definitely like she had a childhood trauma herself,
Yeah,
and she was like living in this land of delusion since her childhood trauma event of the
Right.
parade, and it kind of led into like you could tell her mom really liked to be like that attention, like she really
Yeah.
liked that drama of it, and it led to their life. I do like how in the story the abuse, like you can see in Lex's memory, how it gradually became worse and worse and worse, and she goes through that. Like at first we were going to school, we were doing
Yeah.
this,
Right.
we were walking, we were talking with friends, we're like all this stuff, and it slowly got worse and worse until the end point, which was the worst point, was when they were chained to the beds and they weren't getting fed. They were like before they got chained to the beds, they were eating like moldy food. There was nothing given to them.
That's a surprise super.
Yeah, and the teacher coming, trying to like say, hey, there's something going on here. I like how that gradually you can see that step, because I think that's like a lot of, I think she might have went and read the testimonies of the kids in the actual cases of like, hey, I mean, there was just one of us, one of the two kids, but the more kids, the worse it got. And it was just like, and the worse the abuse got. And that's kind of how she gave that sense and that like kind of lineup. So it was definitely a dark book.
It was dark, but it wasn't like black.
Too dark. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't gruesome.
Serious.
Detail.
It was serious and thoughtful, I thought.
Yes.
Even more than dark. I think she handled it so well. I was so impressed with it. I just thought she handled it so well that even in the darkest parts, you were not like cringing and going, don't go on, don't go on, don't go on. It was just right.
Yeah. She still had that strength and that fire in her, which I never had a sense that she lost. I mean, and she was even dealing with her like own, like I guess her own mental issues.
Right. Well,
when it comes to like the sexual thing,
strangers.
And she acknowledges it, and she's like, hey, I know this is because of a product of my abuse.
Right. But I don't think it was because of sexual abuse. I think it's because she had just turned her emotions so far off.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't kind of a violent act, she didn't react to it. She was so jaded. Yeah. That's what I thought. Kind
of how it gets intermingled with other aspects of your life when it happens, like childhood trauma. Like some people, like how she did it turned into like, hey, this is the for her, that's how sex was for her, you know. But like some people like, which is kind of crazy because I've been starting to watch Moon Knight, and like childhood trauma is actually one of the big things, and it's split personalities. Like people literally have become, I don't know what the official name is of it. I think they changed it, but like multiple personality disorder. That's what they used to when I remember.
Yeah. I forget what they call it now.
They changed the name of it.
Dissociative something.
Disorder. Yeah. Like I'm like that's how people cope with childhood trauma, you know, and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking that, Mike, because I was like, I just binge watched Moon Knight. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna go like this. Yeah.
So you know the Three Faces of Eve. Did you ever see that movie? Or are you familiar with that movie?
I am. I don't remember watching it.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I don't.
It's like 1959, maybe, or 58 or 9 or something. Joanne Woodward got an Oscar for it, and it's the woman wrote this book herself, The Three Faces of Eve, or it was written about her, about this gal who she split into three people, and it's the first time like somebody really had a thing about, you know, multiple personalities. And she wrote this book about it. And she would wake up like in another town, or, you know, I mean, she would come back too in another town wearing clothes she didn't know what they were, having taken this train to somewhere. And I mean, she remembers splitting like as a child or something. Anyway, the Three Faces of Eve were her three personalities. And then I read when I was in college a book called The Fourth Face of Eve, which is by this gal who's named Christine. I can't think of her whole name, but she wrote what it was like to have the three faces. It was psychiatrist care, and she had fused her personalities. And so, are you guys still there?
Yeah, you froze a little. You're like mid.
Are you there?
There you go. I got
yeah, there you go.
Okay, so anyway, so a few years later, I was married, and Indianapolis used to have this morning show, and this lady was going to be the guest on this morning talk show, and I was like, I'm gonna get down there, you know, with my friend, and we went down there to see the show, and there was like an audience question thing, and so I asked her, I said, you know, when I was in college, I read this book, The Fourth Face of Eve, that you had written, and you know what happened there, because she had gone on then to write another I'm Eve book that was just coming out. That's why she was on the show. She was promoting it. It said she had 21 different personalities altogether.
Holy shit.
So she said, yes. I said, did you write that? Do you remember writing that? What's the deal? She said, I did write that. I do remember it. She said, but I had already split again when I wrote it, but the publisher wanted me to do it anyway. She said, I always split in threes. And sometimes it was just like this one would do this, and this one was the ice cream girl. All she wanted to do was go for ice cream, and she would always split into like 3 personalities. And she had done this. So afterwards, I think I went up to talk to her and I said, do you, now that you're like fused and writing this book, do you remember all of the things you did as the other personalities? She said, yes. Yes, now that
Oh,
it's back together, but it's a, it's a coping mechanism, like you were saying. And when things would get stressful for her, she would split into comfort things that she liked and dissociate.
Yeah.
And then, but when she was fused back together, and when her life came together and her husband was good, the family was good, everything was going, and she was like back to being a normal person, she remembered all of the stuff from the other personalities. And that
Yeah, she
interesting.
unlocked those memories.
Yeah,
wild.
because they were always there because they're just you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your part saying I can't handle this right now. So, sometimes we pick up our phones and we disassociate that way,
Right?
or
Yeah,
you're like,
we
you know
just
what, let me just read a
tune
book,
out.
or take a bath. Some people literally create different personalities and and so that's and so that's like that's kind of, I thought that was gonna kind of happen with the childhood trauma on here, or at least one of the kids, but
Yeah.
in a way, all her siblings and the perspective of it, it was kind of the same sense. Like, how different people cope with things and
Right.
different personalities. So, I do like this book. It's not for everybody, of course, because of the triggering.
It's not for everybody.
It is a dark one. You definitely
Yeah.
need something more uplifting afterwards to kind of get you out of that mindset. But I liked it. I recommend the audiobook. I don't know about actually reading the book because that might have just gave me like reading dizzy. But I appreciated the narrator for the audiobook, and
Yeah, I think she did a really good job.
Yeah, she did a really good job. And
I've read a couple where the books were good, but the reader was not good, and so I don't want to read. I don't want to hear more of them.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't stand this person.
Exactly, but I thought this gal did a really good job. I thought the book was not that dark.
Yeah,
As in not all happy and roses, but I didn't find it to be dark.
No, it wasn't super dark. It is depressing, but not but not like, oh, this is sinister dark, kind of deal. So I recommend people listening to the audiobook if they kind of like this psychological, not necessarily thriller, but psychological, like trauma-esque books. Especially like when it comes to like cases like these, like some people, like how in the book they're like, people are obsessed with things like, oh, I want to know what what happened and the mindset of these kids. Yeah, so I like it. So
Yeah, I like it too.
I do too.
Yeah, I recommend it too.
Yeah.
So we're limited attendance tonight, although I'm glad to see you looking well, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was like, yay,
appreciate
Yeah, I was glad about that.
I know. I actually had time to do my hair and makeup today, so I look like an actual person. I was like, yeah, I got my stuff together, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just that.
I dried my hair, but I have no makeup. You just have to deal with it. I'll be transformed some other night. You'll be like, who are you?
I probably won't look like this for like the next 4 book clubs, but
I know you look great. I think you look great.
Yeah.
So,
maybe
yes.
I don't know. Do you think it's better if we try to do them on Thursdays or something? So Sophia doesn't have wine club, and Vanessa's probably on her way to Disney or at Disney.
I know.
Or is she in Kentucky?
Well, she might be. She might be
Oh,
out.
yeah, she
I'm
might
not
be.
sure where she is.
We can try to do Thursday.
I was just saying, maybe a different day because you guys go to work, so I don't know if that's a problem. But it's still early up there, right?
Yeah, like because we started at like 6:30. I can always I get off around work at like 4:30, and I get home around like 5:00. But I can kind of see if I can work because I know I do get Hazel like ready for school and bed and stuff like that. So that's like a whole routine through the week.
Right, I understand that. No,
so like
maybe if it's something that if a different day might work better because with Jan, even though she teaches, she's got a lot that goes on the weekend with her daughter, and I don't know Samantha's probably due pretty soon, isn't she?
Yeah, she's due in like a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I don't hold it against her for not doing book club because there's a lot that's going on.
And she won't get sleep for a couple years. And...
Yeah, she'll be like, I'm busy. Yeah, I'm like, understood, Captain, because that takes a lot, especially with new mom stuff. So we could have I don't know. We'll take a look at the schedule.
Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jan said if it's her turn, she's been thinking about some books for suggestions. So
that was my next one because Jan is up to bat. So
okay.
I was gonna tell her, if you want to tell her, she can either do no pressure on doing multiple books. Some people are like, I really want us to read this book. You can pick one book and tell, like, say everybody like this is the book, or do the multiple, and I can do the poll where everybody votes on which one.
Yeah,
so,
I'll let her know.
Yeah, so that's it. That's it. This was a good book. I liked it.
Yes, I do.
So until
next time, up on this one.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was like, at first it was like good, and then it was a little bit, and then it was bad.
I don't know. I thought, considering it, that it was really, really good, considering what it was.
So,
I did. I agree. All right, so we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
I'll be up there in July.
In July.
Again, for a couple of days, I might land at O'Hare, and then if people are available, I might go have a drink, and then I'm going off to
bye
to Fox Lake.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my cousins live on that. My cousin, the retired airline pilot. Beautiful place on the lake, and
all right.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, I'll post the stuff of the new book.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye. And I gotta finish my big old.
Oh yeah, still got my drink.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. I know.
I wonder how well that's going to go with PLTs.
I was getting a little burpy doing. I hope this didn't catch up on the audio, but I was like,
I don't think so.
It's the champagne, guys. Sorry.
All right.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.